We're back for talking about high stress in sport for athletes today. This is like a two-part one. So last time we talked about, like the bad points of high stress and what it causes and all that type of stuff. Today we're going to be rolling through some strategies on how athletes can deal with kind of chronic long periods of dealing with high stress. So welcome, mate. It's an hour behind where you are up there in Brizzy. I'm down here in lovely, warm, balmy Hobart,
Yeah, no, it's good to be here. And yeah, like we said, so this is a really important topic. This is a topic that athletes are going to need to learn how to deal with if they want to be successful. So last time we talked about how high stress, it comes from when you feel like you've got so much to do, you don't have enough time potentially to do it, and also the consequences are high. And this one will come up again and again. If you're trying to perform at a really high level, there's a lot on the line. You've worked really hard, a lot of commitments that you want to meet. And so, yeah, let's just go through that and break it down with some strategies so you can sort of have this as a skill that you are prepared to deal with when it inevitably arises.
Okay. All right. Well, I like the format where we start with kind of what is the topic we're dealing with. So if we're looking at type of chronic just means over a long period of time. And high stress is obviously just, stress levels elevated beyond what you deal with normally. All right. So for example, your normal day-to-day pressures of just training and stuff like that. I mean, we're talking not more now about, you might have a long-standing injury to deal with. And so your workload of what you got to go through daily is like tripled. Or you've got some type of social situation in your sport where it's causing a lot of anxiety just through conflict of, different people's wants, desires and stuff like that. Okay. So normally when you talk about like chronic, in terms like that, it may be longer than a month. Okay. So we have strategies for dealing things with more of an acute level or a short-term level, and then we have some strategies for things that happen over a longer period of time. So let's jump into it. Now we know kind of where we're at, where we're talking about it. Over to you. Tool number one. What do you think?
I think the first way to start with handling when you're in like a really acute stressful situation like what you're talking about is, if this is like a monster, let's get a handle of it. Let's face it. So what's happening? What do we need to do? How long does it need to be done? And so I think it's a great strategy to get it down on a page, face the monster and write it all down. This commitment, that commitment, this needs to be worked on as well. And so the first stage is just getting your arms around it and facing it head on. So which is not very comfortable, but it's the best way to go about it.
Probably the last thing you want to do at that point, hey? It's like, because your natural instinct, every fiber of your being screaming like, just get me away from this. Like, I don't want to think about it. I can't think about it. Don't want to talk about it. Get me away from this.
Yeah, which is the perfect example of something like procrastination or it's uncomfortable. So like we talked about last time, people avoid it. But we need to flip that around and you need to just face it head on. And
so, if this is going to go away, I'm going to have to like stare it down and nut through it day by day.
Yeah, face the monster.
All right.
That's step one.
Okay, tool number two. We talked about this earlier, and look, I think there's a step before you start getting logical actions into play. I think you've got a bunch of emotion running around in your system, which doesn't allow you to think properly. Can you talk to people a little bit about how the brain works with like different areas and maybe what activities they can do to kind of manage that emotion and shift it to a better place?
Yeah, so if we're dealing with a lot of stress, it's a very cognitive, thought-based stuff. Thinking about, what might happen, what could go wrong, the consequences are high. That's all going to be in our prefrontal cortex. And it's super overactivated when you're stressed. So if we're going to look to start to sort of defuse things a little bit, it's a good idea to try and activate a different part of your brain. So things like going for a walk or exercising, people might not realize why that helps when they're stressed, but what it's doing is it's taking the activation from your prefrontal cortex and moving it into other areas like your motor cortex. So it's using up a bit of glucose, it's using up some of the the fibers in your brain in different sections,
Mhm.
and it's kind of taking away these stressful thoughts and the activation and putting them somewhere else. So
Yeah,
like that's
crucial.
a great start to just turn the volume down on all this stress that's in that prefrontal cortex and moving it somewhere else. Go for
Yeah,
a walk, exercise,
yeah.
get some oxygen and pump your legs, and just get that other areas activated.
I can't help this. I'm going to have to bring it up. This is hilarious. So I'm playing in a golf competition the other day, and this will just prove the point. We don't think clearly when emotions are running hot, right?
Mhm.
So this guy's at the end of his tether with putting, coming towards the end of the round, and another putt doesn't go his way, and emotions just get to the snapping point. Club goes thrown into the bag. No damage done to the putter, but it snaps the driver in the bag. And the shaft's quite an expensive shaft. Expensive lesson in you got to get the emotions out in a way that don't cause damage to you or your finances, hopefully. So we're looking at things like what you said, you go for a walk. You got to have a bunch of strategies. Like obviously if that person's in a competition, they need strategies for dealing with it like right there on the spot. But most of the time, it's like you're dealing with some stress and you've got some time there. You can select activities. I like people having a list of activities like on a whiteboard ready to go for moments like that, because you're not thinking straight and you just want something shoved straight at you that you go, I'll take option 3.
Yeah.
Go. That's got to be better than breaking this, or punching the mirror. Yeah.
Have a few that are ready, and whatever. Hopefully, any situation that you're in, you'll have one that will be able to help when the stress is really high in that situation.
All right. So look, what else? Any other tools we got floating around for people who are dealing with high stress?
So once we've gone from that, if we go back to sort of facing the monster and we've gotten everything down, and then potentially we've looked at reducing the volume in our prefrontal cortex. So we've gone for a walk, we've done some exercise. The next thing is we need to configure everything. So we're looking at these tasks that are on this page, and there might be a lot. There might be 85
huge amounts.
85 things to do.
Yeah.
Let's start to configure. What are they up to? What needs to be started? What needs to be restarted? What needs to be edited? Where are they at? And then you could start to work out, all right, realistically, I'm not going to do 85 things today. What's the top 3 or the top 5 that I can get done that are the most important? So then we can configure, so work out what's on the list, what are the most important, then let's make a plan. All right, so tomorrow between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., priority 1. Between 11:30 a.m. and 1 p.m., priority 2. Start to create a tangible plan based around a schedule, like time, that will start to work on the first few jobs of this monster.
And get off to a good start in the day, for sure. Super important, like always important, but very important. Look, I think there's something that we did kind of leave out, which is while you're going through all this, like this is what we're talking about. This doesn't end in, half a day. This is like stress that you're going to have to deal with over days, weeks, months, maybe longer sometimes. So calling on your support network that you hopefully have built up at this point, and allowing yourself to get those thoughts out of your head and bounce them off other people that have your best interests at heart is another critical key that I would say is essential. You got to have in the mix, in the party.
Yeah, for sure. No athlete is going to get to a high level alone, and know that a strong support network, like we talked about in our resilience video, is just so key. So being able to have that network there and being able to use it will help you get through stress as well.
All right. Look, we don't want these to go forever. We like short, sharp for these sessions. So, mate, wrapping this up, short-term focus or long-term focus for the athlete at this point, what's going to work better?
I think when we're talking about this acute stress, it's like a short-term focus. So working on, what can get done today, what can get done tomorrow. And then a good idea also is to include a review of your day. So before you're going to shut down, have a little bit of a process and look back. Okay, what do I achieve today? How many hours of working on this monster did I get done? And what didn't work? What I spent too long on this. This took longer than expected. Okay, so for tomorrow, I'm going to allocate more time for that. Do a bit of a review, notch down how many hours of work on the monster did you get done,
Yep.
and then you're a little bit better equipped for tomorrow.
Yep.
And if you just keep applying that strategy day in, day out, in a couple of days' time, you're going to be in a much different place.
Yeah, you're gonna make some progress, and the feeling's gonna come along with that. Now, look, the other thing, just quickly on this, I've seen athletes work quite successfully is, you know, you talked about there just allocating time for things. I want people to allocate time for escapism as well and distraction. Okay, because this is a brute of what people are dealing with sometimes with different stresses. And as much as you can get good at dealing with it and facing it head on, I also think there needs to be a period where each day you can release the pressure valve and just not have to deal with it, you know? But we don't want that happening 24/7. We just want that directed into a certain funnel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in like what you're talking about on your page, you may allocate and go, all right, look, I've dealt with everything. And then from 5 till 8 p.m., bit longer than normal, I've just got nothing time. And for some people, that's they read their fantasy novel. For other people, they might game. For other people, they might watch TV. Just, we're talking about zucchini vegetable brain activity, you know?
Yeah. Make a detailed strategic plan and then switch it off.
Yeah.
And then you have time where it's not that at all. You're not planning anything. This is my time for my brain to re-energize itself. You can't plan every minute of the day from sunrise to sunset. So
no, I have tried that. It was very unsuccessful. It actually was. I tried it for about 6 months of my life, and it was not good.
So allocate your monster facing time,
Yeah.
and then switch it off, shut it down.
Yeah.
And then do it again tomorrow.
All right. Yeah. That's plenty for people to run with. It's just surely there's got to be some tools in there that people are like, yes, thank you guys. That is a cookie saver. Yeah. All right, guys. We'll leave it at that. We'll see you in the next video, and keep your dreams alive. Without your dream, you're not going far. Talk to you then.